Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do this. So Josh, I wanted to take a little trip down memory lane. Can you do that with me?
No.
Oh, well, okay, never mind. What do you got for the topic?
No.
I'm kidding.
Let's skip down memory lane for a little bit.
Okay, good, cool. I wanted to talk a little bit today about favorite characters, favorite PCs that you make, and it's fun to take a little trip down memory lane and kind of reminisce about some of the PCs and some of the campaigns that you've been in, some of the campaigns I've been in, and talk about kind of some of the favorite characters that we've made. So I'm a little curious. What's your favorite character that you made? Do you have a favorite character that you've made?
His name's Yalin.
No. No.
No, why?
Like we're
I don't
talking
know why.
Y'all, like
No,
it's
it's G. It starts with
y'all.
a G. It's literally the worst spelling in the world. It's GJALLIN.
GA.
GJ.
G what? Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Why is he your favorite? I think you've told me a little bit about him before.
So Yalin is my narrator for my post-apocalypse world, and I loved him so much that now he is my permanent narrator. And the narrator in the terms of narration is specifically in the kind of this is what happened last week type narrator. And
so
I always
do you make a voice for him, or is it just
yeah, he's just Southern. He just has kind of a basic country accent.
Okay. So it is Yalin.
Yeah. And Yalin is I always say for the whole time we did the post-apocalypse campaign, which we're still in the middle of, I have done every previously as if he is telling a story to a group of people. And so sometimes some people can't be there, and he kind of makes a comment on that, or he kind of lets things, like he talks to them in the recap. So he talks to whoever this, so the whole time the party's like either like, oh, this is just fun flair, or what's going on, like who is he telling this to?
But isn't he like some sort of major player in your campaign?
He is.
Spoiler alert.
So he is. I mean, I have to go into so much freaking world detail to explain this. My world is a post-apocalypse where the apocalypse happens whenever the people that live on the planet get too technologically advanced and might leave the planet.
So, like, it prevents them from leaving the planet by killing them all? Is pretty much what you're telling me?
Yes. So they just they have this a bunch of like space stations watching the planet, and they have people on the planet that are specifically watching for any of these signs of, oh no, they're developing a little too much.
Gosh,
Yalin,
that's pretty brutal.
Well, I mean, the problem is the thing that grows on the planet is like an infection, and they have tried to kill it. It's like a cockroach. They've tried to kill all of them so many times, but it never works, and they keep coming back. They didn't.
So they're just preventing it from leaving the planet.
Yes. So it's not the people, like the actual like PCs and their families and such that they hate that these people are trying to prevent. It's the demon like people that are also on the planet that if they get off, the world is screwed.
That makes sense. I mean, that makes sense, but it's also horrible still.
It is horrible.
Makes sense.
And that's why someone like Yalin exists. So Yalin, his job has been to press the reset button. He gets all the info and all the stuff, and he presses the reset button when he finds the info enough that this is dangerous, we need to stop this.
So he's documenting the story and telling the story, collecting info at the same time.
Well, no. So what he's doing now is he's decided, I've had enough. There has to be another way. He has seen this happen so many times and so many families and people destroyed, and he hates it, as most people rightfully would in that situation. So what he's done is he has done things to help bolster this current version of people on the world, hoping to make them powerful enough that they can, one, find pretty much where the demons are coming from, because if they can find that, maybe they can actually defeat the source instead of just knocking it back. So the whole point of the campaign is that they're going to find the source. They're going to have to deal with it, and then
destroy it, and
it'll stop the apocalypses from happening. So Yalin has actually brought some of the PCs together because he sees them as a possible hope for the world. Like he one of the people wanted their backstory to be they come from a non-post-apocalypse world.
Ooh,
and they got teleported here. So I had it be Yalin brought them here, seeing their potential.
Interesting. Okay.
And another player wanted to have a backstory where he kind of forgot who he was, and he was a gunslinger. So I was like, okay, well, he has advanced technology, and he forgot who he was. So he was one of the people that was originally trying to, that their job was to be on the planet and warn when the technology gets too advanced. But he forgot all of that because of Yalin wiping his memory.
Interesting. Okay, that's a very interesting. And why do you like this character? He's just fun. He's funny. He has interesting backstory. That type of thing.
I just like I love the idea of all that's been set up so far with him, and he just is a really interesting character because on a meta level, they know he's more than meets the eye.
Right.
But on a non-meta level, all they've met him as is a merchant that just travels around the wastes. So they're like, he clearly has the same voice as the narrator. We know he's the narrator, but we can't say he's the narrator.
Yeah. Okay. Do they interact with him much? Like, do they talk with him much?
He is kind of one of those more enigmatic figures where he shows up when he wants to, type thing.
Okay.
But I mean, they have sent to him and got his aid on certain things before.
And is he powerful in your world? Like, is he a powerful figure, or is he just like average?
I mean, nobody knows he's as powerful as he is, but he is strong enough to survive by himself in the post-apocalypse.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting.
That speaks for itself.
Okay. Man, it's hard for me to think of a character my favorite character that I've made, whether that's an NPC.
I can go for another one that I literally just made just last week. The first appearance of them was.
Oh, do it. Yeah, heck yeah.
Well, so it's a member of a family. His name is Kremthar. He is a spectator. A spectator is a type of weak beholder.
Yeah, that's the tiny little beholder guys.
Yeah, with four eye stalks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use them a lot in D&D. I think they're really fun creatures.
They're really fun, yeah. And this family is a family of beholders called the MacGuffins. Now, do you know what the term MacGuffin is?
I feel like I should.
It's like a person or object that moves the plot along.
Okay.
Is pretty much what it means.
And so they're a family of beholders that move the plot along.
That move the plot along if they ever need to.
Dang.
But this is in my next world, which is a high magic setting. And the fun thing that I made about him is one of the major thing about spectators is spectators are only brought into this world by wizards. So a wizard will summon it and say, you need to protect this place for however long the contract is. And the spectator's like, okay. And the spectator protects it. And in the isolation of just being alone and protecting a location or an item or something, they are known for going mad. So they're known to be insane.
Oh,
so this one is insane, but the way he is insane is that he has created a bunch of fictional characters that he talks with and he thinks are his best friends.
That's so fun.
They look like the party, but they're named the player's real name.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So if you were a player, whatever your character's name wouldn't matter. He would call you Aaron. He'd be like, hey, Aaron, like, what are you doing here? And you've never met this person before, but he calls you Aaron.
I hate it so much.
And so they're going to go to where he's protecting, which is an old lab, which is actually super important to the story, but they won't know how important it is until later. But they will see these little like dolls that he's made that look just like them and has their names carved in it as the players' names.
No, I can't. You should. Okay, I mean, this might be super creepy. What you should do is when they first meet them, you hand out props. You like buy some dolls, like cheap dolls, and you hand out props. But you like print out a picture of like their face and you put it on the doll. It'd be so creepy.
That would be very creepy and a little weird, but just like something that you would make.
Yeah, true. You're right. I don't know. I have so many characters that I like and enjoy. I've made a lot of NPCs, obviously. I don't know, but for player characters, I kind of want to go the player character route. I don't know. I have a few that are near and dear to my heart. I have Wilkes. You remember Wilkes?
Yes.
I don't know. Wilkes was like my very first real D&D character.
Major character.
Yeah. I mean, I played D&D a lot before him, but it wasn't anything. It was just here's your character, play it type stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't as serious.
Yeah. And so Wilkes was my like very first, and he was super annoying.
I'm glad you call it out.
He was boy, and then halfway through the campaign, I think we all just realized that like this is a disaster.
Yeah, we're just being goofballs, and this isn't as fun as we think it is.
Yeah, yep. So I think, he has a little special place in my heart, for sure. I mean, then Caecilius, and Caecilius also, was my tiefling bard, who, I really enjoyed him too. We never really got too deep into anything with Caecilius, because Caecilius' main thing was he was acting really dumb on purpose to like hide a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, he was just, he was a very typical,
he was a tiefling that kept everything to
character.
His chest.
Yeah,
to the point where we were far into the campaign and it felt like we knew nothing, and he was just kind of doing things.
But he was like really open about everything, but he just lied about everything that he was open about. So like he was from a family of gypsy merchants, and he was like he was open about telling everything, but none of it was really true. But he was just your very typical bard. He was just your very typical like face of the party bard who just lied a bunch and tried to schmooze with everybody, not necessarily in like a sexual or anything, but just was like constantly, making a mess in a tavern and stuff like that. But I think my favorite PC character that I have is probably Seamus, and I think you know Seamus a little bit too. He was also a bard, but he was my halfling bard, and I really loved him a lot. He was really fun. His backstory was super fun. He had like spider legs because in his city that he came from, it was like a steampunk city. And he had spider legs that were like steampunk spider legs that gave him an extra 5 feet of movement and spider climb. That was like his little magic item that he got to start with, and it was super fun. He was really fun. He was like he was a psychic blades bard, which is not a good subclass. I'm just gonna say it right now. It kind of sucks, but he used a musket, and he would psychic blades with it, even though that doesn't make any sense. But apparently, you can do that kind of stuff. So that was a fun character too. But I don't know. I have so many fun memories. Like my favorite memory, which I think we probably have told in the podcast with Wilkes, was when I was hiding in those bushes and I kept ringing that guy's doorbell in the magical city. So dumb.
Yep.
What city was that? Where was that?
That was an actual D&D setting. It was actually, sorry, that is a Magic the Gathering setting that I brought in that they had just created like a small little PDF of, hey, you can play this in your game. And I just like needlessly, like completely needlessly created a portal there.
We just ended up there. I don't even remember how.
You went through a portal in a cave. It's called Kaladesh. It's like a steampunk city. But it was not in my setting at all, and I didn't know how to create worlds or settings at that point, and so it was just kind of like, why is this here?
It was hilarious because I don't even remember how the subject came about with doorbells, but I just remember this guy was super mean to me, and he was like a total jerk. So I ended up hiding in the bushes, and because mage hand for arcane tricksters can be like invisible, I was just ringing his doorbell with a mage hand over and over again while hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was a rogue, your stealth was like +1,000,000, so it's like you couldn't find me. It's so stupid. It was so dumb. I also remember in that campaign too. I know we're going a little long, but I remember in that campaign too. I stole somebody's squirrel. Like they were eating squirrel, and I stole somebody's squirrel and ate it.
Oh gosh, I forgot about that. But yes, you did do that.
he had it on his plate, and
He was just a regular guy that you stole a piece of squirrel that he was cooking. Like he was cooking like a bunch of skewers of them, and you just took one, and like you were supposed to like become his friend or like help him. And he's like, "Why would I trust you? You stole some squirrel from me."
My squirrel. But I think those, because Kaladesh was like towards the end, so we were kind of getting like, it was just, and it was making you like really mad. Not like super angry, but you get my point. Like it was just
you were because you were just screwing
it was
around.
just irritating. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
Good times.
Good times.
So what's the real topic for this week?
The real topic for this week, as we are beginning a new season of Dungeoneered, season 5. Now, during our last season, we created a bunch of ideas about this is what we want to do for season 5, because we liked the ideas that we created, but we're like, we don't want to use these in this current season. And I asked you to take the notes on these.
Oh yeah.
So you definitely have them written down.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I trust that you did.
Yeah.
And
let me
first thing that we created. Okay. The first thing that we wanted to create was a world that was literally shaped by the gods.
Yeah. World that was.
And what it was is the gods were. They were fighting.
Right.
Like the gods fight. And they also, in these fights, it was like almost a gladiatorial thing. That is how they gained their followers, almost like a celebrity trying to be the most impressive fighter or the most impressive combatant. And in those fights, they massively shaped and terraformed the world.
Listen.
And so I was like, okay,
I'm proud of myself.
Well, I don't want.
Listen here. This is what I wrote about this, okay? I wrote, gods don't have domains. Fight for creation's belief/created world. That's what I wrote. Beautiful notes. This is perfect.
And so my idea was I don't want to have, I don't think it would make sense to have a topic be a god or something like that. So I decided, let's talk about a pantheon. Let's talk about the whole entire pantheon of something. And I looked around, and a bunch of them led into one. And so I was like, okay, well, let's just talk about the one overarching one, and then we'll maybe relate to how the other ones kind of somehow relate to this partway through. So we will. So this week we're talking about the Faerunian Pantheon, which Faerun is the kind of Europe part of the Forgotten Realms. The kind of Europe medieval fantasy of the Forgotten Realms. Now, as is the case for many of the pantheons in the time that D&D takes place, this pantheon is a conglomeration of multiple pantheons, as the people who followed them slowly became one. In this pantheon, they were a combination of the Netherese, the Jamdoth, the Korumshit.
The what? The what? No, wait. Say that one again.
I'm going to spell it out because I don't know how I'm supposed to say it. Koramshite.
Ah, yes.
Korumshit?
I don't know, but whatever you said the first time, I'm certain that was not it, but I loved
Korumshit.
So we'll go with what you said earlier.
And the Talfaric pantheons.
Oh man, I'm like 5. I am mature.
You are like 5. These pantheons were human No, I mean it's not a good. I feel like it should have been a different word.
I don't know. I'm really into the easy to pronounce names and places. That's all I'm about.
These pantheons were human pantheons and developed differently from each other because the human population was separated geographically far enough that they didn't even border each other. But over time, as they all grew, they began to find each other and intermingle their cultures and beliefs. As this happened, it caused mayhem on other realms. But it wasn't like a switch going off. So it's hard to point at like a specific moment. But as the religions and cultures merged between these large populations, certain gods began to lose favor and power. Because gods in the Forgotten Realms.
Remind me really quick. Gods gain power from people worshiping them,
yes.
right?
Yes. So the more you have and the more powerful they are, the better off you are as your power is stronger. And so when these cultures began to mingle, certain gods began to just come out on top because people liked them better, I guess.
Got it.
But gods weren't one to just back down and be like, okay, no, it's a fair fight. They like his ideas better. No, that was not what was going to happen.
Of course not. That would be boring.
Instead, the gods would challenge each other and fight for dominance, and the winner would take the higher ranking. Any with overlapping aspects had to figure out who was greater and who was lesser, and many took to fighting for it. What were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to say, are we talking like good old-fashioned brawl fights? Or are we talking like world domination explosion fights? Or are we talking, debates? What are we talking
Massive
here?
Fights of the two gods against each other. Most of these did not take place on the planet, though. They took place on the home realms of these deities.
Got it. It's a good old-fashioned smackdown between two gods.
Now, some decided that they had enough of the political god scene and split their power among mortals, like Jurgle, who created 3 gods from mortals.
Jurgle?
What are you, 5?
It's a great name. Jurgle?
Jurgle. Jergal. Jurgle.
What is Jurgle's domain? Like,
well, no, hold. It's bad domains. He split them.
Jurgle.
He split them between 3 gods. So he took mortals who, I don't know if he trusted them or they were followers of his, but he made them gods. But instead of it being a greater deity like he was, he made a bunch 3 lesser deities. So he made Bane, the god of strife, Baal, the god of murder, Merkel, the god and the new god of death.
Bane, Baal, and Merkel?
Yep.
So bad. I love it. It's so good. I shouldn't be making fun of creating
other
stuff,
mortals rose to godhood in this time, facing off against each other and older established gods for ultimate control of the major aspects.
Okay, wait. Yeah. We have to at least hope that he's not spelt Ball.
What are we talking about?
The god Baal. It's not Ball, is it? Please don't be Ball.
Bhaal.
Okay. Good. I was going to say, if it's Ball,
the Faerunian Pantheon was what is called a single sphere pantheon, meaning a pantheon formed on the premise of being the one and only pantheon for the whole planet. Now, this was not perfect, and others were able to kind of sneak into this world. Now, D&D does something really interesting here and brings in the multiverse by freeing up space for more gods. They have all worlds connected, ours and theirs. This goes so far that in the lore, they have Ogma and Sylvanas from the Celtic pantheon that came to the Forgotten Realms because they began to lose followers in their original home, which we would know would be Earth. Tyr came from the Norse pantheon, Loviatar and Mielik from the Finnish pantheon, and they all came to restore their power and gain a following in Faerun because they were losing it in their home realm.
Interesting. Which
is a really interesting way to connect Toril and the Forgotten Realms with the real world. And it's also interesting to think about, because I always was curious. I haven't found any like good, well-written article or anything on this, but like that moment or that, like however long it was, Like we think of these major pantheons and major gods from Norse to Greek to Roman. What is the moment of their pretty much death? Like, what is the moment where people like said, "Nah, I'm not going to believe in this anymore"? Like, how did that happen? Like, I haven't seen anything like that goes into good detail on that event, on those times.
Yeah, I haven't
Because
either, but
they
I also
were,
haven't.
yeah. We have such a strong understanding of these people heavily believed it and based their culture around these things. How did they just disappear? How did the world take that? How did that nation take that? How did the culture take that? Like, what changed so rapidly that they said, we're going to forgo this substantial pillar of our culture because we don't believe in it now? How does a whole culture do that so fast?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. I mean,
I love the idea of them leaving, the gods leaving that world because they're losing followers and coming to this fantasy world.
Yeah, that's super interesting. But also, I mean, I love it. It's great, but also kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to run something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to run something like that because you don't want to step on any toes if it's
yeah. I mean, not even that too, because I don't think there's a lot of worshipers of like Loki anymore. But like, I don't know. I'd have to do a lot of research about those gods, right? Whereas, like, if I make my own, I kind of just am my own expert, Like,
yeah, I understand that. It makes sense.
but there's also a lot of room to really step on toes doing that too. There's a lot of room for that kind of mistake too.
Now, as we talked about before, these gods were not the best people, as they were cruel and exploitative of their followers. And it got so bad that it horrified the over god or over deity Ao. Despite this, he wasn't going. Ao. Despite this, he wasn't going to step on anybody's toes. So he decided to just let it play out. He was like, they're horrible people, but they haven't done anything majorly wrong, so I'm not gonna overstep. And that would have been the end of the story. The gods would have gone on, everything would have been as it is. But the gods Bane and Merkel had incredible greed, and they stole from Ao the Tablet of Fate, which we have talked about in another episode.
What about Baal? What did Baal do?
He wasn't involved. He was a good guy.
Wow. I respect
the
for
god
Baal.
of murder, a good guy.
Respect for Baal.
Because it's not death. He's not the god of death. He's the god of murder.
Just straight up the god of murder.
That's a very different understanding. That's a very different thing than death.
Oh boy.
Now, Ao was not having any of this, as he was pissed. And he began a time to kick the gods into the dirt and reshape them, called the Time of Troubles. Now, we've talked about the Time of Troubles before, but the short of it is he forced the gods to become mortal. They were still super powerful. They were still gods, but they had to take mortal form on Toril and exist amongst their followers.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
This made it incredibly easy for a god of the Faerunian Pantheon to die.
Yeah, that's
not good. Because if
at
their
all.
mortal form died, the deity actually died. Now, 7 episodes ago, in episode 81 on Finder Wyvenspur, we discussed him and how he became a deity during the Time of Trouble, killing a god and taking the energy from that to become his own deity. Now, during these times, he wasn't the only, Finder Wyvenspur wasn't the only mortal to get godhood. And other pantheons were also not immune to Ao and his anger.
So
they also had to take physical form.
So Ao, the creator, is he
Yeah.
so much more powerful than the other gods that they can't really do anything about him?
1,000%.
Can they not like?
Yep.
Okay, so they can't like band together
No,
and kill him
he
or
is the
something.
guy that literally the god. Anybody who wants to be a god has to be like, sir, can I be a god?
Okay,
And he's like, yes or no.
got it. Okay.
And so even if a god gets like kills another god of another aspect and says, I'm going to just absorb this into myself. And he's like, okay, so I was the god of death. Now I'm the god of death and life because I killed the life deity. Ao could just be like, no, you're not.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And take that away.
No. Has any mortal seen him?
Yes.
Has any mortal seen
It's
him
super rare.
that you know of?
I don't know if they could actually like see him, but they have interacted with him.
So what does he do on a day-to-day basis? Just kind of like chill out and chill?
We don't know. We literally don't
He
know.
must just hang out and have a beer or something.
I mean, he could be running the universe for all we know.
True. Like if he stopped, everything would die and blow up.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, the last major event, I'm going to skip some of my notes. The last major event that happened in time for the there's two last major events that happened before the kind of modern time in the Faerunian Pantheon. First was the god Cyric, who had been causing a lot of problems, trying to gain more power and doing it in dangerous ways. He kills the god of magic, Mystra, and magic goes mad because, as you suggested about the universe, Mystra does that for magic. She's constantly fixing and making sure it works perfectly, so as soon as she dies, there's no one to do that. It creates a time of turmoil and chaos called the Spell Plague. It's not good for pretty much anybody. Some interesting things happen then, and things transport between worlds that didn't technically know the other one existed. And the thing that happened after that, after everything's kind of people learned to live with and subsided the negative effects of the Spell Plague, the thing we talked about last week, the first sundering, where the earth kind of shattered and the world magic kind of went a little crazy a little bit. The second sundering is kind of what brought 4th edition into 5th edition.
Oh, okay.
The second sundering, so 4th edition, they cut back on a lot. A lot of things were cut back to make it as they considered it streamlined and great. The problem is, a lot of those things that they cut were really cool and people loved. So it was really not, people did not enjoy having those things cut from their game. Now, the second sundering brought a lot of things back. So deities that they just said, oh, that one died, that one had problems, oh, that one was killed during the time of troubles. Things like that, where they kind of were cutting down on how many things they had to think about, gods and such. They brought back during the second sundering to make 5th edition have the people in it that it has, have the gods in it that it has, and so on and so on.
We had to backpedal and reintroduce everything.
And that is, well, they didn't backpedal on everything, but they backpedaled on some of it where they're like, yeah, we were a little too harsh on cutting things. And so that is kind of how the pantheon of the Faerunian deities got to where it is today. And so I was thinking we use this to inspire us to create our own warring gods that compete for the attention of the people.
So when we talk about gods competing for, acknowledgement from the people, what do you think of? What's like the first thing you think of in your mind?
I'm thinking a physical brawl, but I also think now that I've thought about it longer, like as I was going through my topic, I was thinking, there's gods that their domains are not murder or fighting in any way. what if there's a few different types of these types of competitions?
Yeah. Well,
So the gods of more physical things do war and battling, while some do entertainment.
yeah. See, this is what I was, because when I first, made the suggestion, I was kind of like, it'd be super cool, but at the same time, a god of peace is probably not gonna, not gonna go rage in a big fight and
Against the
yeah,
machine.
true, yeah, true. So it would be interesting to have different like events, I guess, that gods would take place in. For now, let's stick with fighting, okay? Let's stick with fighting right now. Do you see this more as like you're sitting out on your porch and you look up in the sky and you see two gods fighting, or do you see this more of like there's like instead of like a Mount Olympus, it's like a gladiatorial arena and everybody comes and visits and two gods brawl in the gladiatorial arena?
I think that's what it is now. It is now more centralized and in a certain area. Maybe there's a whole continent where that's the whole thing that continent is, that they can just screw around like that. Now,
I love
originally, I think that's how they shaped the world. I think that's originally it was unbound and unchained. And so islands were created. And so maybe this world is like so incredibly full of just like islands and broken off pieces of land that there's like very little large continent stuff, because it was forged in this all out brawl.
Yeah. So I agree in terms of, I think, how kind of the beginning started. If I'm picturing it in my mind, it is fights between gods that shape the land, right? So, continents, oceans, rivers, all sorts of stuff that, these gods have created during these fights, scars on the landscape, all sorts of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I really love the idea of these gods having like a gladiatorial arena, like a a fighting pit that people can go and watch these fights take place. But I have a hard time seeing how that would look or where that would be. Like, is it its own plane? Like, do you travel to a different plane? Like, do you step through a portal or something when these events happen? Is it like on top of a mountain? Is it like in a valley? Like,
could there be so originally it was on this plane, but now could it be that they are, as you said, on another plane, and this other plane that they're on, you have like these little like viewing magic items that allow you to view it.
So I have
on your
I have two
television.
Yeah, I have two thoughts about that. One, do we want this world to be that magical, where like there is like a viewing thing that you can, be at?
Well, it might not. The world doesn't even have to be magical for this, because I think if you specifically make it where the gods gifted this to the world, because the whole thing is they're trying to be impressive. So the magic does not have to be at the level to create this and this many of these. It could just be that's what the deities wanted, so the deities made it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I think so. Where my mind is kind of going, it's going more towards like a human-centric version, like the gods themselves. So I picture like, like a family waking up on their farmstead, and like it's the day that they travel to the city of the gods, right? And so they load up their little wagon and their donkey and some of their goods to take to market, and they make their way down to the city of the gods, and there they can see and heck, even like talk and meet with some of these gods. So like you walk down the street and there's like, the god of, bravery, who's like, putting on a show, getting ready for his gladiatorial event, right? But he's like human. He's like, he comes down and manifests as human, and they go into this arena.
So their avatars fight.
Yeah. and it's going to be grandiose. Like it's not like they're normal
Oh
human.
yeah, it's still going to be incredible.
Yeah, but like
because just like in the times of troubles where they were all forced to become mortal and come onto this plane, they were still incredibly freaking powerful, but they were just mortal.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, and so I like that idea of like a Hercules from like the Disney movie type thing, where like you have these individuals who participate in who come to the city of gods to participate in these god brawls, right? And heck, and I even picture like this city is a wondrous place. Like there's giant theaters where people compete, like gods compete through entertainment. There's cathedrals of art where gods compete through art and study and knowledge and architecture and stuff like that. And I think philosophical debate. So I think like that is kind of what I'm envisioning. And I again, I love the idea of like a grandson, like a grandpa is like taking his grandson to the city of gods to go experience the wonders and watch some of the brawls and the entertainments that are put on display. And maybe in certain cultures it's like a coming of age ceremony where this is where you choose which god you follow, right? So like you're 13, you get taken to the city of gods, and that's where you really choose which god you want to follow, which one speaks to you the most, right? So you watch the god of courage defeat the god of bravery, and from then on you were like a follower of the god of courage, not because you had to, but because it like inspired you so much, right?
Yeah, I love the idea of imagining these kids with like posters on their wall of like the god that they love, and they're like, oh, I want to be just like.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's super fun. But then I run into the problem of, boy, you certainly wouldn't want your 13-year-old to go watch the god of murder and then beat the god of bravery, and then now your son follows the god of murder.
Well, I don't think the kid has to choose the one that wins. I think the kid just...
No.
I think it's purely an entertainment thing.
Agreed.
Where the kid gets to choose from there, I liked this one better.
Agreed. No, I absolutely agree. It's just like, to me, there could be a lot of really, I mean, if you were inspired by the god of murder, then, here we are, right? So there's a part of me that all of a sudden wants to do like, maybe the evil deities were beaten in these fights and they're now locked in some sort of prison, right? And so maybe even some god entertainment shows are of like these famous battles between, these...
Naked and Afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, maybe
Fear Factor.
Yeah. Maybe the evil deities were like defeated and they're, cast out or whatever, or maybe they have their own version of it on like a flip side, like on a different plane, or maybe...
Yeah, I liked your original idea about them not having domains. And I think calling them the gods of yada yada is more a title like a champion has in a fighting arena than an actual domain or aspect of theirs.
Yeah, and these are just powerful beings that fight and participate in events and...
Yes, and can grant powers if you want to be like a cleric or paladin or whatnot.
Yeah, I like that. I just love that, that concept of like, 13-year-old deciding which god to worship because they saw it at a
Now, I do think you could have some really interesting things with like characters in this world, as like if you were denied the ability to be a cleric or paladin of like a deity, you could physically try and meet that deity and be like, hey, well, what's up?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And like I was saying earlier, I think it'd be really fun, like, massive crowds outside the gladiatorial stadium, and like, the god of, like this god comes walking through the street who's like, he's like waving, and like he's on a giant war elephant, and he's like waving to the crowds and like throwing out like flowers and like and so you could have some really fun moments of like these grandiose figures that now the question with this too is like, are these figures? So we don't. We I think I like the idea of them not having domains, right? It's just kind of like a nebulous. These are like the powerful gods of the world who fought and formed and shaped the world. Do they die? Do we want them to be? Is there like
I
a
think
mortal
their
aspect to them
mortal
where they
forms
can die?
can die, but I think they can just come back. But they need, like, something has to happen, whether it's like money or time or, like, I don't know. What do you want to restrict? How do you want to restrict the gods? Do you want it to be a time-based thing? If their mortal form dies, they have to wait a certain amount of time before they can manifest again. Is it monetary? Is it a bunch of people have to do, like, their followers have to do a ritual? So, like, once you lose a certain amount of followers, you can no longer manifest again. So you don't ever want to hit that moment, because then you're stuck. You can't perform in the games to show people that you deserve to be followed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it's probably like a time constraint or like a, like when a demon dies and has to go back to his original plane for 10 days before it can do anything. Like, I think it'd be something like that. Probably longer though, but something like that is what I would imagine. Um, Shoot, I had a really good question based off of this that I was going to ask, and I totally slipped my brain.
Sorry
Um,
about that.
no, oh man, it was a really important question, but I do not remember it at all.
Well,
Just
as our
totally
parents would
slipped my
say,
brain.
and it probably wasn't very important then.
Yeah, yep. That's gonna bug me. But yeah, I think there's probably just like a time penalty, I guess, like a little delay if you lose. Maybe not if you lose, but if you die. Do you think do you think these gods are? Oh, this is what it was. Okay, so when we're talking about like the power level of a god, okay, and if they're so like readily available and accessible, what does that look like in terms of power scale from a player character, right? And like a god? Because we don't want to make so many gods that the players in a D&D world don't feel like they can be heroes because you have, gods roaming around and fighting and being glorious in arenas. So what does that kind of look
So
like
what do
in
you
your
mean?
eyes?
So you're saying like you so you're
'Cause,
saying that
when
you
you're
don't think other gladiators could exist in this world?
No, I'm not saying other gladiators couldn't exist in this world, but what do we like? How do we see the interface between gods and humanity?
Like celebrities.
How do they
I
like
see them like
interact with each
celebrities.
other?
Like where they're like going to a car and there's a whole bunch of people like, "Oh my
Yeah,
word, I
no.
love you. Oh, can I get your
Yeah.
signature?"
Do you think a mortal human, like, because if I'm scaling it based on a player character in my campaign, do you think a level 20 character could fight and beat a god, like a
Um
mortal avatar?
I think an
That's kind of another. That's
avatar
the question.
very very like it would be very hard, but I think they could
I
do
think
it.
that's what I want too.
And they could.
Because I think it would be really fun to, maybe there's a god that the party really hates, and they challenge him some sort of like gladiatorial duel or something, right? Or like, you know, there's potential for gods to be murdered and killed and assassinated, and plots to arise from that, political and plots to
Oh
arise.
no, I definitely think that's like might be where the story goes of plots of death and betrayals.
Yeah, no, I think so. And so I think that like I want the vast majority of people to not be anything near what these gods are, but there are people in the world who can become very powerful in their own regard, even though they're mortal, and even possibly as powerful as a god, especially if they have like the right magic items and tools to do so. How do you think the gods would feel about that? Or just that mortals can become as powerful as they can? Do you think it's like an indifference because like this is just their weak avatar state? Like, do you think like is it that kind of thing?
I think it is. I think it's an indifference or maybe even a source of pride because like if they can get that person on their side, like they're gonna look cool. Because I think
Okay,
I
I
think
see
the
what you're saying.
politics of the gods is so removed from what people care about that I don't think I think it's a Like it becomes a competition of like I can get them on my side.
Do you think, kind of building off this, do you think that humans participate in these type of things as well? Like, is there like you go to a concert, right? And you go to watch, you're the main act, but before the main act happens, there's like a smaller band that performs first and does like a, like warms up the crowd. Do you think like humans, like
The opening band?
yeah, like an opening act, do you think humans do some humans fill that kind of role before the main gladiatorial fight or like the main, event?
Definitely. And I think if it's like one that's heavily based around a certain god, I think that it's like a paladin of that god. So it's like we're going to show like a faux version of the fight with two paladins of those deities.
Yeah. No, I think yeah, I agree. And I also would love the idea of like, especially in like theater, there's like reenactments of like world changing fights, right? With like grandiose magic and like a bard god essentially who's like, telling this story with magics and I think that'd be really fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think
for sure?
So do you think these gods are like super wealthy? Do you think it depends on like their characteristics? Like,
I think it depends on how much they win. I think you can make a lot of money through these fights, but I also think that if you suck, you're not gonna make a lot of money.
Like, do we see these gods because they don't have domains? Do you see them limited by characteristics? Like a god who's like a humble god? Like, is it more limited in that sense, or are they just doing their own thing?
No, because I think they can each one can entertain and make money in their own way.
Now here's my next question too, a little bit about the city of, I'd like the name the City of Gods. I think that's a really, really fun little name. But do you think like this city is accessible to people all the time? You'd think so, right? Right? Like it's a main central city.
I think it's like as I liked your idea of it kind of being like a coming of age type thing. I think that's totally what it could be, where it's like a coming of age, where or like a travel to the city of Mecca, where they're like, oh, like it is a spiritual growth to do this.
Oh man, there's so much room for corruption in this holy cow.
Oh dude, there's people that make so much money off this that are just the worst people. Yes.
Oh man, this is like, I just picture it being like, I mean, not all this way, but like this grandiose thing, but there's a lot of shady stuff going on too, like, oh man, like they're like,
and everybody
like,
knows it, but you cannot say it.
Yeah, like what if because like there's gonna be gods who are not necessarily honorable, right? Because they're all gonna have different personalities, like a human would. So like you have a god who like, is more inclined to use their powers to steal and to connive and to sell snake oil. I mean, boy, I'm telling you what, it could be
it's
really,
literally
really
going to be like a faux version of celebrities, where like there are celebrities that 100% peddle snake oil.
I know.
They don't call them snake oil, and people don't get as mad at them as they should. But it is snake oil. It is not helpful in any way, but they're, because of their star power, they're able to get people to buy into this.
You know what I mean, this is, I mean, first of all, I love this idea a lot. I think this is a really fun idea. And I also think it'd be really fun to do like a reverse card on this and do like a, like while you're running your main campaign, do like one shots here and there of the players making their character, like a god character that they're playing in, like, and kind of having like this like one-off little series of, I think it'd be so fun. Where you make a literal god that you play for this little one shot, and there's some sort of issue that's going on between the gods. I think that'd be so much fun.
Yeah, it would definitely be a fun world to live in, to play in as these celebrities.
Do you see like do you see these gods gaining power based on the people who worship them? Is that kind of what we're thinking here?
I immediately thought yes, but now I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think there's a two-step.
Is that like a weight class thing?
It could be.
Is that how they like limit who like, oh, you have 50,000 followers, you're in the 50,000 follower weight class. Like
and
you're only 10,000.
Steps Thanos with us 500,000 followers. Like
Make sure to like, share,
and subscribe. Oh no.
That sounds about right.
Like, do we see that, or do we see it as like a two-step thing where there's something that limits the gods to where the avatars are all roughly the same power, but the gods themselves gain more power as more worshippers occur?
I kind of love I kind of love this horrible this horrible kind of weird version of celebrities that we are coming up with. I love this.
Yeah, where they gain.
This is terrible and stupid, and this world would be amazing.
It would be so fun. Are you kidding me? I would love. I mean, I want to make a world like this.
You could have such fun in this kind of weird celebrity godhood.
It would be so. Honestly, I would have a blast, especially as a DM or a player in this kind of world. And I think I love the idea of weight classes based on worshipers and like followers. I think that's hilarious. Like, I think that's really funny. Like, you know, you sign up, you like get a flyer for like the, you know, million, you know, it's like the million follower, like, you know, million worshiper league, and like the, you know, billion worshiper
and
league.
there's two gods that have like, that are like a few followers off of each other, and they're like the highest ranked streamers. I mean, gods. And everybody has an opinion on, oh, I like this one or that one more.
Yeah. Do you think somebody could follow multiple and they would get those followers as well, or is like a half follower?
No, I think it's a choice.
Can you change it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's like whole entire. I mean, the purpose of these competitions is to win over followers and change people's minds to your side, right? So I think it's a constant ebb and flow, and I think there's like, you know, drama in that between the gods too.
I think there's also a major drama that's happened during, and I think there's like these major upsets that happen that a god pretty much turns the whole crowd towards his side and then gets incredibly more powerful than the person they're fighting during the fight. Yeah. So they started in the same weight class. They did not end in the same weight class. And so it dominates.
I think that's so.
And so like there is a strategy in these fights of entertaining. Be entertaining. If you can like be so much more entertaining than your combatant, you can win a bunch of his followers over mid-fight.
Yeah, you can gain power through, you know, middle of the fight because you're more, you know, charismatic or, you know, inspiring.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. I think it's so funny. Oh, it's so good. So then, this Pantheon. Before we finish, I
definitely don't think we're finished yet. But
how many
what were you saying?
gods are in this Pantheon? What do we see? What does that look like?
I think that's up to you. I don't have a clear number, because I think there can be fun with hundreds. I think there could be fun with 25.
Yeah, I think. Man, that's really difficult. I mean, I can see both being really fun. I think I want to stay away from so many that it's hard to keep track of the celebrities for the players.
Yeah.
So,
makes sense.
You know, like, I think it'd be really fun to have like very recognizable, or at the very least have like a top 25. That's like, you know, that's you can really focus in on. I think
it's always fun to have like I was gonna say,
maybe there's even like a demigod league.
Fun to have something else where you can pull someone.
Right. They're out of the demigod league and now they're into the event. You know, into the god league.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, I think
they're out of Formula 2. They're into Formula 1.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's, you know, I think that would be really fun. And, you know, maybe you even have some conniving gods who got kicked out of godhood because they lost most of their followers, and now they're trying to, like, you know, connive their way back up to the top, and, you know, they hold grudges and from to certain gods and things like that, and that could be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Next question that I kind of want to build off of too is how many people do we think
I
are
think
in
it
the
might be
world? Like, do we think
smaller.
this is a pretty
Not
big populated
like
world?
incredibly small, but just like if you think in terms of like our world, like just the amount of people on like North and South America.
See, I
Like it's still a lot of people, but it's concentrated.
yeah, what I want is I want the world to be big and partially unexplored, but I really want like the population to be really heavily concentrated, so like everyone can come to the city of gods, right? Like everyone can make the trip if they need, right? You can have, you know, a lot of people arrive at the city of gods and do their, and maybe like, do we see this world as like super magical, or are we seeing this more conventional, like, medieval
I think
fantasy?
it's semi-magical. I think it I don't know exactly what their magic is, but I think it is magic. It's towards the high magic line, but it's not exactly high magic.
Like, do you picture like airships and stuff being a thing?
I don't know.
Honestly, I think I like the idea of, obviously there's a lot of magic, but I like the idea of it being pretty normal life, like horses, carriages, like that kind of stuff, more so than like,
Yeah. That's what I was meaning. Yeah, that's what I was
airships
meaning.
and stuff like that. I think I like that.
It's high magic, as in magic exists and magic is very powerful and used by a lot of people, but not high magic in everyday life is thoroughly infused with magic.
Yeah, no, I think I agree.
I think they do have some sort of flying apparatuses, but I think they're like early hot air balloons. And they you can get a hot air balloon seat over the fights.
Yeah, I think that's kind of. I think I like that. I think that's fun. I think that's. Do you think there's humans that have like higher standings to watch these fights too? Like they have tons of money in their own private like box suites to watch these? Like, do we think?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And do you think here's another question. Do you think every human soul, like every human that worships you, equals the same amount, or are there more people, like the higher level you are, the more your follower weight is?
Higher level you are, the more important your follower is.
Yeah, I think I agree with that too, because then that would add agency to like player. When they start leveling up to level 10 and 15, it starts getting really awkward.
They start being hunted as, hey, you should follow me.
Yeah, like you come home, they come back to their castle after a night, saving the town, and there's a god like sitting in their kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's fun.
I think you could have a lot of fun with like,
or like a sexy god in the bed
fighting over the party of like, come on.
Yeah.
I know they've made an offer.
Yeah.
I know the other one's made an offer, but I don't have the money to offer you, but I have something else, and like tries to like win the party over.
You could have a ton of fun. You could have, it would be a blast. I just love it. I love it so much.
Well, I think I will cut us off there.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
This is a fun, weird new world for season 5.
It's way different than what we've done so far. It's way different.
Well, thank you all for listening to this episode 88. Right? 88? We're on 88? I think we're on 88. I started writing.
I don't know.
I started writing 89 already, like who we're going to talk about next week. And so I have an 89 in my notes, and I was like, wait, 89? I didn't think we were on 89, so I was throwing myself off. But it's 88. And if you listen to us on any podcasting apps that have ratings and reviews, it really helps the show if you write a review. Really shows you're engaging in more ways than just one, and helps bring others' attention to the show. If you'd like to write to us, you can write to us at dungeoneered@hotmail.com. We'd love to hear from you if you have any ideas for topics, lukewarm opens, want to talk to us about interesting things that you've made or that you like that we made that you won't be added into your world. We'd love to hear it all. Anything else you can think of, Aaron?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
May the gods ever be in your favor.
As I always say, always remember
I hate it. I hate it. I hate
to
it.
be
I
the
hate it. It
sharpest
gets me every
barrel
time.
in the bunch. See you next time.
Yes, perfect timing. Wow, that was perfect. Okay, anyway, bye.
Bye.